In 1960, an 18-year-old Björn Envall walks into the Saab studio, carrying his portfolio under his arm. Sixten Sassen, designer at that time, immediately hired him as his junior assistant. In 1992, 32 years later, Envall leaves Saab as chief designer. To date, the Envall years are the most successful years in the history of Saab. Not only in terms of business, but in terms of creativity as well. Together with Sassen, Envall designed the 99. As chief designer, he designed the 9000, the 900 new generation. But his most famous and most successful design is the 900.
Big and 1, you are cleared for climb out, maintain heading 240, over. Roger, tower. We have you on visual, Big and 1, change frequency to 291.7, over. Understood. Cutting in post, tower. All controls to manual. 4 seconds to intercept. Roger, tower. Looking good.
Only one aircraft manufacturer makes cars. Sierra, Alpha, Alpha, Bravo. Saab.
Envall lives in Vänersborg, a village under the smoke of Trollhättan, the city where Saab was created, and where the largest Saab factory is still located.
Zero, more or less, or so it was, of course, dreamt up by someone at marketing or by us. I don't remember. But 900 sound very nice, like thunder. 900, I guess there was something to it. We never understood, I think, that we should make profit in the cars. I realized, of course, that dealers made profit. Factory made profit once in a while. They never talked about it. So we didn't have that big pressure on doing a new color every year or a new, say, new car every 5th year. We tried to do the utmost of what our resources were. I guess at the most we were 20 people in design, and say that we had a studio in England with about 10, 15. Then we had people in Finland and in America who worked for us. Italy worked for us. So we were about 10, say that we were about 50 to 100 people working just strictly for industrial design. The key thing was to keep people enthusiastic and going roughly the same direction. We had already by Saab starting in the 50s a theme, which we were actually in early 60s when Saab were open-minded in what would the theme be. He started off as a drop, ended up with a fairly logical edge. Then why change? For change's sake, when you finally get something going which is unique, the only thing left was to work on was to sharpen that up. Even my son was in here. No, Frida, cool. My daughter went in January 82. She actually used my paper, and she never told me. And here is Peter, probably 4 years younger. In order to be able to save money, this is probably a fraction of 10 years ideas here and there at home, I guess. Then I went to the work and see what other things the other guys could come up with, luckily. But some of the interior work here was from 82, and you see that you have things here from 70s. 78. Saving pencils and paper.
The next day, Envall has a surprise. He has invited all team members who worked on the 900 to his yard. They haven't seen each other since 1993, the year Saab ceased production of the 900.
Och så var vi tvungna att ta av den. För att den tryckte, deformerade vindrutöppningen var det väl? Så rutan släppte.
Det liksom bara ramlar ner i luft hela vägen. Nej, men den...
Tjena, tackar.
Han Lenin.
One feature on the instrument panel is the climate controls, which Saab was one of the first going to rotary knobs instead of sliding controls, which was standard on most cars. And that was something we on the climate group worked for and fighting for, because this is more ergonomic. You easily know where you turn the knob. If you have a sliding, you must look on the same time. And it has a very good quality feeling, and you also hear click, 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 click.
Normally today, if you put on a rear spoiler, you might reduce the drag by maybe 10% or 5%, but this reduced the drag by 20%.
The inside of the head restraint is made of sheet metal, which goes around like this. So it's safe to impact both from the front and from the rear, which is rather unusual. Most head restraints have two pillars that's supporting the head restraint, and that's not very nice for the rear seat passenger.
The classic 900 was built in more than 900,000 units totally, or almost 1 million. 900. And I think that the 9,000 was about 500,000. And the rest is less. So the classic Saab 900 was the biggest seller. We were very innovative. Yeah. And also in those days, of course, now and then we always speak about environment. And the Green Party in Germany came on, and everybody was speaking about the importance of environment. And in Germany, you need a fast car on outbound. But you couldn't come with a big Mercedes or a big BMW. So the black turbo was perfect. It was fast. It had a lot of space inside, but it was small outside. So that hit the dot among the educated people, the doctors and the lawyers and those who were aware of an environment.
In the time span 1975 and 1976, Saab was really in bad shape. I mean, we were not selling too much car, and there were financial problems at that time. But when we came out with the turbo, I would say we saved Saab with this engine. And we were known all over the world, with the turbo engine.
I learned a lesson that don't try to be something else. You know, with the 99, it went too far with the interior and the golden wheels and all that. I guess that we were so excited about Volvo's six-cylinder cars and their little bit nose up. So when we finally got into the 900, the aero and the turbos, I think that we were more low-key. And of course we loved the cars, but still in some angle it was quite different than from the competition. We felt that. But to be as, I think we were quite modest about it. I think that has been part of Saab, that don't overestimate your luck.
For the first time, we got help to define the surfaces in a computer. And that was made from Saab aircraft division. And that, I think, is what Envall and I are discussing on the first car, 1974.
I was responsible for brochure production, sales literature, when I was at Saab. When we launched the convertible, or the 900 Cabriolet, it was scheduled to be launched in the US first, half a year before the rest of the world. So we asked the people in the US, do you need a brochure? No. They said, the car is so good, it'll sell itself. As the Americans used to say, they had a slogan, the most intelligent car ever built. That was the Saab 900.
The brain has two sides, an emotional right and a logical left. The left side knows the Saab 900 is practical. The right side doesn't care. The left side sees safety in Saab's high performance. The right side doesn't care. The left side admires the 56 cubic feet of cargo space. The right side doesn't care. Why not bring both sides of your brain for a test drive?
When we made this car, it was head of development, Stig Norlin, who invented the bumpers later on, and he invented a lot of things, came from the aircraft division. He told me that, okay, if you do the combi coupe, Björn, you have to have it as big so that I can actually sleep with my wife. He always was a camper. So that's why this area was 180, and Stig actually got together with his wife, and finally they ended up with a very nice boy. And the good thing with it, of course, is that you rest, you go up, and the coffee is ready, and then you can look, you put the feet down in the lake, and you can take this directly, the swim.
We were working in a place that was very hot in the summer. So the morning when we had the show, it had been such a hot night that the whole thing, the whole model had slid down about this much, which I panicked, of course. So I just filled in with new clay up here, and we showed the model. Everybody was happy. And next show, it happened again. A hot night, it slid down even more, about that much, and I filled in new clay, put Dynoc film on it, and we showed it. Everybody was happy, and that's why this is to 99 to the front, a lot out of proportion, because it's too long. When we made this car, and everybody was happy about it, the management took it, and they wanted to make it like it is here now, and Björn was so happy that he said, look what we do. I know Mercedes and everybody has got a mark on there, and we're going to have one too. We're going to have the Rolls Royce, but she's going to have the trousers down and she's going to have her breasts hanging, and you're going to make it. And I said, okay, I'll make it. And I did. I made one, and here it is. We couldn't, of course, put it on the car in the end, but that's how it should have been.
Rich of experiences, friends, travel, And I hope that we made some dealers and people dealing with cars really rich.
Björn, he loves chaos. He's in the room of chaos because there is creation for him. And if you don't understand the room he is in, it's very easy to misinterpret what he is trying to provide. A number of things happened at Saab, which meant that he was very misunderstood. But I learned that when I saw something that Björn created, 5 years later, it was absolutely perfect. So he was always 5 years ahead of time, which also is a matter of art. Art is always ahead of science, and he is there.
General Motors had a very strict way of looking at development. And the bigger it went, the tougher it was for people in between. And around 92, 93, we had a big, complicated decision on some of the coming cars. And they were actually in a situation where they had to take certain decisions depending on such vast, big programs that Saab's philosophy would be hurt. And when you realize that, you have to take some steps and cut some people out, and I was one of those who were cut off. This was early 90s. So it was all a surprise for us to leave, but later on I think that we understood why. It took us 3-4 years. Every day is probably, in my age, you probably get happy every day when you see flowers and that you're still alive and you see people around you. I'm not a dreamer, I'm trying to act or do things. That's what makes me happy, particularly with the hands, so you get things done every day. Even if you cut the bloody grass, you're happy today.
Envall hasn't drawn any cars for years. After much insistence, he agrees to try it once more. His Saab of the future.
Now, if we discuss, for instance, the Saab philosophy, you always started with roominess and safety. At least in a sports car, there should be 2 and 2 plus 2, I think, if I have a decision. So you make a sports car, or whatever you call it, sports utility, it should be for a Saab, actually roomy, space utilized, and perhaps also a little bit surprising. Then we go from that 4-seater or 2 plus 2 to the next step. I would personally actually go on with the same 2/3 of the same chassis, the same feel on interior comfort, but a different approach when it comes to engine, even perhaps the pricing, of course. But still it's the family, and still it's also the adventure. Then, of course, you can always claim that some people want to sit high or low, of course, today. And also the near future, you can change the height, you can change the loadability by different type of wheels. I would predict smaller wheels. And by sitting higher up, you can also alter the chair so that you really, when you're turning 60, you probably have, some of us has knowledge about, then you don't have the same blood streams as when you were 20s, so that you can step in and out with that without any problems. So you're ending up to having, for instance, 3 functional bodies on the same chassis, and you produce it on the same line, and you alter the functions of the car just by pricing, and you have also a fairly timeless product. That's about what I believe could be one of the solutions for many different small makers like Porsche, Saab, and who knows what the Koreans or Chinese are going to do. So it's actually not steered by stylists, but by functional industrial design, which is of course then including all the specialists involved in doing products, and they should of course come from various fields, not just automotive, but across of the society.
After his compulsory redundancy at Saab, Envall emerged as a versatile artist. He frequently paints, but his true passion is the interplay between glass and light. He claims to design objects that are never the same.